Something tells me Allison's real man story is about to get a lot more complicated. The funny thing? Watching Allison spin this elaborate web of lies, seeing our friends choose sides based on nothing but her word, it's actually liberating. Every nasty post, every fake tear, every manipulated story just confirms what I already knew. I'm not losing anything worth keeping. Sorry for the delayed update. These past 2 weeks have been wild. That coffee meeting with Mrs. J, game changer. Turns out she's been gathering evidence for months, not just about Allison and her husband, but about a whole pattern of behavior at the company. Remember how Juliana mentioned the guy who left town? He wasn't the first. Mrs. J had documented at least 3 similar situations over the past 5 years. Young employees getting involved with her husband, then helping to push out anyone who might expose them. The difference this time? Mrs. J was done playing quiet. She had texts, emails, expense reports, even security footage from the company parking garage. But she wanted one final piece: public exposure. That's where the annual company party came in. I wasn't planning to attend, why would I? But Mrs. J had other ideas. Sometime, she told me, the best revenge is just letting people show their true colors. The party was at a fancy hotel downtown. I arrived late, dressed better than I ever had for these things. The looks when I walked in? Priceless. Allison nearly dropped her drink. Jay's face went from red to white so fast I thought he might pass out. But here's the beautiful part. I didn't have to do anything. Chloe approached first, clearly tipsy. "You've got some nerve showing up here," she slurred, loud enough for nearby groups to hear. "After everything you put Allison through?" I just smiled. "Everything I put her through? That's interesting. Tell me more." That's when Gemma stepped in. Remember her? My coworker? Turns out she'd been quietly collecting her own evidence. Screenshots of Allison bragging about her conquest in company chat groups, recordings of her planning how to spin the story with Jay. "Actually," Gemma announced, "I think we'd all like to hear the real story." The next hour was like watching dominoes fall. Mrs. J timed her entrance perfectly, tablet in hand. The projector accidentally started playing a slideshow of incriminating messages and photos. Allison's increasingly desperate attempts to maintain control of her narrative. But the real show came from Jacob. Good old bros before hoes Jacob. Except apparently when the hoe might advance his career. He'd been filming everything on his phone, planning to show it to Jay later to prove his loyalty. Instead, he managed to capture Allison's complete meltdown. "You think you're so clever?" she screamed at me. "You and that bitter old woman trying to ruin everything I've built? Jay loves me. We're going to have a life together." That's when Mrs. J decided to share the cherry on top. Divorce papers already filed. Turns out Jay had been promising Allison the same future he'd promised those other employees. Same script, different actress. The best part? Through all of this, I barely said a word. Just watched as years of manipulation and lies unraveled in real time. By midnight, the party was effectively over. Allison stormed out, mascara streaking down her face. Jay was locked in his office with HR. Those friends who'd been so quick to believe her stories, they couldn't look me in the eye. As I was leaving, Mrs. J caught my arm. "Thank you," she said, "for being the one who didn't run." I drove back to my motel room feeling strangely peaceful. Pete, the owner, was still up, watching late-night TV in the office. He took one look at my face and grinned. "Good night? You could say that. Well, this is it, the final chapter of this saga. And trust me, it's been a hell of a ride. You might want to grab some popcorn for this one." The aftermath. Within 48 hours, both Jay and Allison were forced to resign. Mrs. J's evidence didn't just expose their affairs. It sparked civil lawsuits for workplace harassment and financial misconduct. Then Mark, the guy who'd supposedly left town, returned with receipts of his own, filing a lawsuit that encouraged other former employees to come forward. Allison's downfall. She tried playing the victim in a tearful video, but Juliana, of all people, shut that down by leaking their private chats. Desperate, she showed up at my motel, threatening to expose dirt on everyone. I just laughed, snapped photos of her so-called evidence, and handed it back. She erupted into a screaming meltdown, which of course got recorded and went viral. Last I heard, she's back living with her parents, her social media scrubbed clean. The sweet ending, Mrs. J took everything in the divorce, leaving Jay's reputation in ruins. They say betrayal comes from the ones closest to you, but nothing prepares you for the moment it actually happens. My girlfriend's smirk cut deeper than her words ever could as she admitted to cheating, tossing me aside like trash. I needed a real man, she said. And my so-called friends? They nodded in agreement. But here's the thing about pushing a man too far. He stops caring about playing fair. I smiled, grabbed my keys, and walked away. Because what she didn't realize? That smirk was the last mistake she'd ever make. My girlfriend admitted she cheated. I needed a real man, she smirked. My friends took her side. I just smiled, took my keys, and left. This morning, my phone blew up with 32 missed calls. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The signs were there, scattered like breadcrumbs through the last few months of our relationship. But when you've been with someone for 3 years, you tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. At least that's what I kept telling myself. It started with small things. Allison began working late more often, which wasn't unusual during busy seasons. But then came the new perfume I didn't recognize. Clothes I'd never seen before appearing in our closet. And her phone suddenly becoming this sacred object that was never more than an arm's length away. I'm not the jealous type, never have been, but something felt off. The way she'd pull away when I tried to hug her from behind while she was texting, how she'd step out to take calls, claiming they were work-related, the constant girls' nights with people whose names I'd never heard before. Last Tuesday, I was folding laundry when her phone lit up on the coffee table. A message preview from someone named Jay popped up. Miss you already. Last night was... The rest was cut off, but my stomach dropped. I didn't want to be that guy who snoops through his girlfriend's phone, but the universe seemed to be screaming at me to wake up. When she got home that night, I decided to be direct. She was in the kitchen making herself a smoothie like nothing was wrong, the sound of the blender filling our apartment as I leaned against the doorframe, watching her. Who's Jay? I asked when she finally turned it off. The change in her posture was instant. Her shoulders tensed. But then she did something I wasn't expecting. She smiled. Not her usual warm smile, but something cold and almost triumphant. Wondering when you'd finally catch on, Michael, she said, taking a sip from her glass. Jay's my boss. And yes, I've been sleeping with him for the past 2 months. The casual way she said it felt like a slap. No guilt, no shame, just pride. I needed a real man, she continued smirking. Someone who knows what he wants and goes for it. Not someone who spends his weekends playing video games with Jacob and watching stupid movies. I stood there processing her words. 3 years together, and this was how she really saw me. Through the shock, I felt something else rising. Not anger, but a strange sense of clarity. Does Chloe know? I asked, thinking of our mutual friend who'd introduced us. Oh, she's known for weeks, Allison laughed. Most of our friends know. They understand. Jay can actually provide a future, not just dreams and excuses. That hit harder than the cheating admission. These people we'd shared birthdays, holidays, and countless dinners with, they'd all been watching this happen, probably laughing behind my back. I pulled out my phone and opened our group chat with Jacob and Chloe. Is this true? You all knew? Jacob's response came quickly. Bro, you're great, but Allison deserves someone more established. Don't take it personally. Chloe chimed in. We didn't want to hurt you, but maybe this is the wake-up call you need. I looked up from my phone to find Allison watching me, that same smirk still playing on her lips. She was waiting for the explosion, the drama, the scene she could tell everyone about later. Poor, immature Michael losing his cool. Instead, I smiled, a real, genuine smile that seemed to catch her off guard. Without a word, I walked to our bedroom, pulled out my go bag, always kept one packed for weekend trips, grabbed my laptop and keys. When I passed through the kitchen again, Allison was staring, her smirk faltering slightly. Where are you going? She demanded. Out, I replied simply. And Allison? Keep the apartment. I'm sure Jay can help with the rent. I heard her start to say something as I closed the door behind me, But I didn't stop to listen. My phone was already buzzing with messages, probably from our so-called friends trying to explain themselves. As I drove away, I turned my phone off and felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Sometimes losing everything shows you exactly what you never had in the first place. I had no idea where I was going, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was heading in the right direction. First, thanks for all the support on my last post. Never expected it to blow up like that. A lot has happened in the past week, and honestly, I'm still processing everything. I've been staying at a small motel on the outskirts of town. Not the most glamorous place, but it's clean. And the owner, an older guy who introduced himself as Pete, seems decent. He even knocked $20 off the weekly rate when he heard my story. I turned my phone back on after 2 days of silence. 32 missed calls, 47 text messages, most from Allison, some from Jacob and Chloe, and a few from numbers I didn't recognize. But what really caught my attention was the notification storm from social media. Allison had been busy, really busy. Her Instagram story painted a picture I barely recognized. Apparently, I was a controlling, jealous boyfriend who monitored her every move. According to her posts, I emotionally manipulated her for years, isolated her from friends, and threw a violent tantrum when she finally stood up for herself. Each post had hundreds of sympathetic comments, including ones from people I thought were my friends. The crown jewel? A tearful video where she claimed I financially abused her by making her split all our bills 50-50 while I hoarded my money. Rich, considering she earned more than me, and insisted on that arrangement herself. Then came the text from Gemma, a coworker I've known for years. Hey, you might want to check your email. Something's going around the office about you. Sure enough, there was a company-wide email about creating a safe workplace environment, with a thinly veiled reference to recent concerning behaviors from certain employees. No names mentioned, but the timing wasn't subtle. I should have been angry. Maybe I should have fought back, posted my side of the story. Instead, I just felt curious. How far would she take this? Pretty far, as it turns out. Yesterday, I stopped by our local coffee shop, the one place I figured would be safe, since Allison hated their coffee. Wrong. The barista, who'd always been friendly, gave me a look like I was something stuck to her shoe. Later, I found out Allison had become a regular there, sharing her survival story with anyone who'd listen. But here's where it gets interesting. While picking up some clothes from storage, I ran into Juliana, Allison's supposed best friend. She looked nervous, glancing around like she was afraid of being seen talking to me. You need to be careful, she whispered. Jay isn't just her boss, his wife. She's connected, like really connected. And Allison's been telling her you're unstable, dangerous even. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Juliana's eyes darted around again. Because this isn't the first time. Before you, there was another guy at work, Allison and Jay. They did the same thing to him. He ended up leaving town. That conversation changed everything. I spent the night digging, legal records, social media, anything I could find. Turns out the previous guy existed. Mark something. Disappeared completely from social media around the time Allison started at the company. This morning I got a call from our landlord. Allison tried to remove my name from the lease, claiming I'd abandoned the property. When that didn't work, she told him I'd been threatening her. He called to warn me. Turned out his sister went through something similar years ago. But here's the real kicker. While all this was happening, I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. The profile picture was of a woman in her 40s, elegant, wearing expensive jewelry. The message was simple. I believe we need to talk about my husband and your girlfriend. Coffee tomorrow? It was signed Mrs. J. I'm meeting her in an hour. Jacob and Chloe tried to backtrack, but a single screenshot of his old messages shut that down fast. He blocked me immediately. As for me, I landed a promotion, signed a lease on a new place, and yeah, I'm seeing someone new, taking it slow this time. The best revenge isn't scheming, it's living well and watching them self-destruct. And I won't lie, seeing it all burn was satisfying. This will be my last update. Thanks for the ride, Reddit. Final lesson? Karma doesn't need your help. Sometimes you just step back and let people show who they really are.